Alright, party people. Today I'm going to be talking about why I pivoted my content and why I'm starting my own production company. Because I feel like it kind of needs to be talked about. I should have made notes before this, but I didn't, so it's off the top of my dome. So reason number one is I've always really wanted to do snowboard and sports videos. Kind of my whole thing of video was started by my dad making a snowboard film when I was 6 years old on our first holiday to Val Thorem. Now I've been watching snowboard videos for years and I snowboard myself, and I thought, well, I can do something like that. I know how to edit, I know how to film. Why not follow a passion of mine? And the other passion is motorsports. Now I love stuff like MotoGP, BSB, World Superbike, Le Mans, F1. All of those different categories of motorsports are stuff that I just really want to film. I think you can get some really cool angles. You can do some really insane things with filming these different sports. Plus, in the long run, gives you something to do in the summer months because you obviously can't be going snowboarding. Video for me has always been about showing off cool things. For me, that's what I see in my head. You've got Hiroto Ogiwara doing the world record jump at X Games this year, and I was just thinking, imagine if I was there filming that. Imagine that I could be in that moment filming such an insane trick, or something as insane as the Isle of Man TT. I absolutely love the TT. It's one of my favourite things to watch. And imagine being trackside or next to one of the massive jumps at X Games. Who doesn't want to do that? But I've just moved jobs, and my last job was editing property videos. And now you might be thinking, that's a very different job. Yes, but it was also my first editing job. Now I'm very grateful for that job because it taught me a lot of skills that I didn't know beforehand, and I could learn a lot of things just because I was doing editing day in, day out. I then learned like lots of masking, lots of tracking stuff, essentially what should have been basics that I never picked up because I didn't think I would ever need them. I also learned a lot about color grading and, how to deal with clients, and, if they weren't happy with things, working on amendments, all of these different things that really, when you are starting your own business, you should know about, but you wouldn't if you haven't experienced that. Now, reason number two of starting my own production company is because I just love video. The only way I can describe it is by taking you back to 16-year-old me. I didn't pass most of my GCSEs, and I didn't really bounce back from that. And the reason I didn't do very well is because I thought, I'm going to go in the army. I'm not going to need GCSEs. I'm not going to need all these subjects. So why bother? Why care about doing these exams? So I never studied. I never did any of that. In my mind, it wasn't a deal breaker, And then I didn't get in the army. Well, what do I do now? What do I do with my life? I went through many different things. I was an IT apprentice. I was doing PT at college at one point. I then went to redo my GCSEs. Didn't finish that because I was basically getting treated like utter crap by the tutors at the college and kind of getting judged because I was 18 and still doing GCSEs. And then just before COVID hit, I stopped. I quit. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. And kind of just dossed about for a bit. Really, that's a bad thing to admit, but I'm being honest with you. I just dossed about for a bit. What do you do at that point? What do you want me to say? There's nothing I can tell you. I didn't do well at GCSEs. I didn't find anything I enjoyed, but I'd been making YouTube videos when I was in school, and I enjoyed doing them. When COVID hit, a year later, 2021, I redid YouTube. I carried on with doing YouTube, which is this channel that I'm on right now. I started Shacklemore because I didn't really know what to do with myself. I didn't have anything going on, and I thought, screw it. And then I started as a receptionist, doing part-time work, reception work in a hospital. I didn't enjoy it, no one's going to really enjoy it. Well, after the pay rise, it was not too bad, but it wasn't enjoyable work. And I spent absolutely ages trying to find a job that would either let me be a videographer or a video editor. Funny enough, the 24 hours of Shrek video got me that property editing job. That sounds mental, but that is the truth. And then I got the opportunity to retry for the army, but because I developed epilepsy last year, which is a whole nother story in itself, got to assessment centre and they said, no, you got to be 10 years seizure free off medication. And that was my whole 16-year-old me dream that I'd had my whole life just gone. You know, what do you say to something like that? In fact, if I'm being honest, I sat in the debrief room crying. I was in tears because that's all I'd ever wanted to do, and I thought, I've got to give it a go. And then after that, I thought, you know, there's this idea that I've had for ages, why not pursue it? And that was Shacklemore Productions. And Shacklemore Productions is a snow sports and motorsports based company that is a production company from my own heart. And I got put on a verbal warning at my last job for telling them I wanted that as my career goal. And so we're here. I pivoted my channel. I'm going to make behind the scenes content and weekly vlogs about this company. You know, honest stuff about what goes into it, what I do, and how this company runs outside of the job that I currently do. Obviously, for me, it's a little bit easier to transition into doing this stuff because my job is to make YouTube videos look good and be appealing and engaging. I wouldn't have restarted this stuff without the push of two Jacks that I work with. And I mentioned that in the last video, but I didn't expect that to get many views, and I quite rightly guessed that it wasn't going to do very well. It's in front of me. I got 7 views on it. I didn't mind because I've not uploaded since 2023. I've come back and I'm changing the content. I mean, you know, it's going to hit. I'm not going to delete or unlist any of the videos that have got me to the 274 people that subscribe to this channel, and I appreciate every single one who decides to come back or thinks that maybe this content isn't for me, and that's fair enough because that's not the content you actually subscribed for. I think the last thing I'm going to leave it on is why now and why as soon as you get a new job. Well, I started doing the production company stuff before I got this job, you know, before I started this editing job, and I was a bit hesitant to kind of go in and be like, look, I've got this on the side, please don't be annoyed at me. And I told Jack, who is technically my line manager, I told him about it and he said, good, go on, do it, you know, as long as it's not going to interfere with your work and you can do it around it at the moment. I wouldn't be annoyed if later down the line you said, look, this is taking off, I want to go and do that. And I told him that my dreams of filming with snowboarders and filming with MotoGP riders and TT riders, and he was excited for it. He actually was like, yeah, do it, I don't blame you. Now, I'm sorry if this was a boring video to listen to, but I have to be honest and I don't want to lie to you. I have a shoot on Sunday that I'm gonna do a behind the scenes vlog for, and I have a couple more shoots coming up that I will also do behind the scenes vlogs for, and they'll go on this channel. And if there's any videos, say you're wanting to do the same thing or a similar thing and you're wanting me to talk through things that I've experienced, I will do that. I'll probably make a video on how to get clients when I know what I'm doing, because there's no point in me lying and being like, yeah, this is how you do it, when really I'm still working out. I still don't know, and that's all the fun of it. That's why I'm going to do weekly vlogs, because I'm going to talk about what's going on and what I'm doing to try and push this company further. And also, I'll leave it on, you might have noticed I have more tattoos. You might not have even known I had tattoos. I had that one when I started and the one that's on here, and now I'm covered in them, but it doesn't matter. That's my choice. If you've come from any of the previous videos, any of the Shacklemore 30 videos on TikTok, you know, 24 hours of Shrek, you know, even the OG ones like Come Down With Me video, then thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. And if this isn't your content, feel free to unsubscribe, do what you want to do. But thank you for listening. That is my story, and that's what I, plan to do. And come along for the ride, because who knows what's going to happen in a year's time. Thank you.